Hey, Sherry, I think we've got a quorum. Should we get started?
Yeah, let's do it. All right. Well, welcome everybody. Great to see everyone here today, or hear everyone here today. I'm Sherry Johnston. I'm head of client impact here at Winning by Design, and I'm honored to have with me some revenue enablement experts to help showcase the unlocking the power of the Access Pass with me. Today I have Rachel Smith, who is a former customer and enablement lead, as well as now a managing director at Winning by Design. Thanks for joining, Rachel.
Of course, glad to be here.
And Tom Cherian, who is the revenue enablement lead at Civic Plus and also a longtime customer of Winning by Design. So thanks for joining as well, Tom.
Thank you for the invite. Happy to be here.
Excellent. Well, I'm excited to dive into this today. We are covering, as most of you know, the unlocking the power of the Access Pass. And we are going to share information on how to leverage the Access Pass and how we have used it with various customers, as well as how you can support using the Access Pass across your whole go-to-market team. And then finally, we're going to wrap up with really making it stick by how you integrate the Access Pass into various pieces of your tech stack that Tom is going to talk to as well. So have a packed agenda here, and really hope you come out of it with really understanding what the use cases are for the Access Pass, and how you might use it to amplify your existing enablement or revenue ops team at your own organizations. We'd love to ensure that everyone gets their questions answered, and make sure that this is addressing your particular needs. So don't be shy about peppering questions in chat. We've got team members here, Sari, Alex, as well as Rachel, Tom, and myself, who will be monitoring it and making sure we answer your questions. And then we will open it up at the end as well to make sure we address them there too. All right, so going into the first element of, what is the Access Pass? And I've had the privilege as head of client impact of dealing with, or not dealing with, but supporting hundreds of our customers over the years. I've been here about 5 years, ensuring that we are getting them to impact and that we are providing as much value as we can as go-to-market consultants and trainers. But over the years, we have, had a lot of feedback around, while we may come in and build a playbook or do a training, oftentimes there is need for continued access to Winning by Design services that may be not in the format of a full project. So this came about from a lot of different customer feedback of, hey, how do we get access to Winning by Design, but maybe not in the project format? So hence the advisory service or All Access Pass was born, which really at the core of it, that we do offer quite a few different benefits of Winning by Design services throughout. But at the core of it is really access to our consultants and trainers as advisors as needed, as a on-demand service. And then also access to our content library. As most folks know, Winning by Design is rich in video, blueprints, frameworks that are really at the core value of what we all deliver on at Winning by Design. And that library is key to the ongoing reinforcement coaching to help our organization. So what we've done is put together these assets in a subscription service that customers can access, and you're able to book advisors as needed throughout the organization on various different topics and access our full library. But that being said, there's a lot of different ways that now that we have launched this and have a 10, 12 customers that are utilizing the library, we have learned a lot about what use cases people are using it for, how to really leverage all these pieces together and pull them together to really help make impact on your organization. So we want to share some of those today because everyone has unique different needs, whether it be helping amplify your existing sales enablement team with beefing up what can be kind of a lean staff, or whether it be helping you build out your sales force with our bow tie framework. There's quite a few use cases that folks have started using the library for. So I'll touch on a couple of them. Yeah, as I mentioned, the two core are really this, access to these advisors. We have 25 advisors that have expertise across all of these different areas. So the idea here is, as you're needing coaching support, you will tap into our expert trainers who coach Winning by Design clients day in and day out. Or if you're really looking in to optimize our bow tie, you may tap in and book Rowie or Beth, who are our growth architects who design growth models day in and day out. So this allows you as an advisor to go in, find time with them, have an onboarding call or an onboarding template with them to really understand your needs and ensure that you have time to get their expertise on what it is that you're trying to achieve. And then the other piece that I mentioned that is really core to it is the content library. And we do have somewhere between 360, 380. It's an ever evolving and growing library, but this library has frameworks, blueprints, videos, runs of show, playbook decks, etc., and as well as research across all of our bow tie topics. So we'll go into a little bit more detail here, but just as a high level, here's some of the content pieces that are most utilized within the library. Things like having a blueprint for how to conduct an impact review, how to use our SPICE framework for effective discovery, provocative messaging, so that you can really leverage where your team is needing the most help at any given particular time. So now that we know a little bit about what the Access Library is, I really want to bring it to life. And Rachel, you have had the benefit of being also a customer and on the Winning by Design side. And we talk a little bit about some of the use cases here. There's two large levers in my mind. There's sort of the use case you had of, hey, you were transforming an organization on a new methodology using Winning by Design as the foundational framework, and that would have been having access to the library and tools was beneficial in that transformation. And then there's the other folks that oftentimes have the use case of, hey, I prefer to build with you as opposed to Winning by Design necessarily delivering the playbook, being more of an assist. And but you had more of the first use case, which is probably our most common one, and I'd love to hear your experience on how you leverage it in the organization to help drive impact.
Yeah, of course. Thank you so much for teeing that up, Sherry. So no, as Sherry mentioned at the top of the call, my background prior to joining Winning by Design is as an enablement leader at Dropbox. And when we started, when we went about launching this service, both the enablement library and the advisory, all kinds of possibilities came to mind for me. Certainly one was, as someone who had done a large global rollout of Winning by Design, of thinking about what the long tail of that engagement would look like, how we were going to do reinforcement and enable, my team to be able to drive that forward, month over month, quarter over quarter after we'd done the initial training launch. But also, especially now that I'm talking to prospects and clients about, thinking about how to do this, even just for the ad hoc asks that can come in. So, one of the things, I'm sure all of you, and if you can drop an emoji or comment in the chat if this is something that resonates for you, is as much as enablement leaders or any type of leader, we have a quarterly plan or an annual plan that we're trying to stick to. We have the initiatives that we're really trying to drive. we know that you're going to get these ad hoc requests, the shiny object that has come up from a sales leader, right? That you're like, okay, how are we like, now I have to all of a sudden drop everything that I was doing, or think about how this is going to fit into an existing cadence that I have. And when this happens, you're faced with not only the logistics of, okay, when am I going to do this? How am I going to drive people to training? Am I going to fit this into an existing meeting? But also finding credible content that is proven to use as a jumping off point for that training, and making sure that it drives with frameworks that you've already rolled out within your organization. So for example, let's say, a sales leader comes to you in, one-on-one that you have with them, and they have been listening to a bunch of calls and have said, hey, we really need to get better at storytelling. I'm listening to these calls, reps are feature dumping. It's just not connecting. And, so I really want you to do a 1-hour training on storytelling. And you're like, okay. So yeah, you're faced with this like blinking cursor problem of, how am I going to put this content together? What's the source of that? How am I going to make that engaging? And this is where, and we're going to have Sherry pull up a quick video where the library can really help. So if we click play on that, so this is a preview of the revenue enablement library. And in this case for storytelling, we actually have a toolkit. So you can see there's a deck that has all kinds of frameworks in it, that has, a simple framework for storytelling as well as, why does this matter? Why is this something that the team should care about? In this toolkit, there are videos, there are blueprints that make it very easy to say, okay, here's all the content that I'm going to use to try and think about what I'm going to send ahead of time, what I might send as a follow-up, and also resources that I can use to structure the session. In addition to toolkit, you can also go in, and you'll see this on the screen, and actually filter by topic. So storytelling is a topic, and this will pull up a whole range of videos and and other things that you can send as reinforcement on that topic following a training, or even to launch the training. The other thing, and I think this is going to come up in a second here too, is that for some topics, we even have an already pre-built run of show for, here are some talk tracks, here's how you should bucket time to really drive engagement on that. So I think this video gives you a sense of, okay, how do we move away from what I described as that blinking cursor problem of like, oh boy, like, Googling storytelling frameworks, how am I going to actually make sure that this is something that lands for the team? But not only that, if you have the advisory service, you also have the benefit of saying, okay, maybe you do a little bit of digging on, here are some of the resources that I could use to pull this together, but you can then engage with one of our expert coaches to bake out that run of show and pressure test it and make sure that that's something that's going to be really engaging for the team, not just great content, but bringing that content to life. So, basically our advisors can really serve as an extension of the team. And storytelling is just one of the topics that comes up. It could be like negotiation is always a hot topic, or prospecting, or how do we get better at discovery. So hopefully that helps to bring together a little bit more of the impact that this could have, whether you're a team of one, which I know many people are, and you really need a teammate to be brainstorming that with, or you're looking to think about how I can reinforce key topics, over time after a large methodology rollout. So yeah, so I think next it's like, also, I think you saw from scrolling through that resource, there's so many resources that are available in this library, and almost so many possibilities that could come with our experts. So I think we're going to turn it back to Sherry, and we can talk about a little bit of, what does it look like to actually help you think about how to focus those efforts and get the most out of this in a really intentional way.
Great. Thank you, Rachel. That's super helpful. Yeah, and to address a couple of questions in the chat, Kara, I see your question on the library, which relates to Graham's as well. So we do have freely available content, as Graham has mentioned. There's a lot of assets that we have published over the years on YouTube that are freely available to understand how our storytelling framework works, etc. As Rachel alluded to in the the overview. As you get down deeper into like that very robust run of show that gives you timestamps and breakout sessions and role play examples on how to run a specific run of show, that is not something that's publicly available, that we do keep in our library for customers who are part of the All Access Pass. So there's not a tried and true way of knowing what's public and what's not, but I think the richer and the deeper content is reserved for the access customers, as well as our own internal teams that we utilize to pressure test against clients regularly that we deliver on. So Kara, in terms of the link, there isn't, the link is available to just clients who are Access Pass members, but I'm happy to show you more as a potential customer as well.
Yeah, and I think the other thing too, it's the curated search, I think, and being able to search by what type of asset and and topic is really robust in that library, and new things are being added all the time as we have existing client engagements and we're being like, oh, this is something that we could really scale out. Let's make sure that we kind of figure out a way to include this in the library. So it's a living asset that, as we are generating new IP, is kind of always being updated.
Great point. Thanks for adding that, Rachel.
Mm-hmm.
So Rachel, you mentioned kind of teeing it up of sort of how we would pull this together for particular clients. So here's an example. If you are a particular client getting it started on the Access library, what we do is, or the All Access Pass, we really try to understand, what your goals are and sort of see how we can curate these assets to get you where you need to go. So in this case, we have an example customer who is, trying to map their Salesforce stages to the bow tie in Salesforce. As well as, hey, they've got one of what Rachel mentioned, the ticking cursor, because they've got a workshop of stakeholder multi-threading in 6 weeks. So they've got a couple things on their plate that they're really needing some support on with content and advisory. So what we do here is we do have an onboarding team who pulls together, understands your goals, puts and helps curate both which advisors would best be able to help you with the customer goals that you have. So in this case, for the first one, we're recommending Fiona, who is one of our amazing growth architects, and knows our Salesforce API document in and out, and can really help with that plan of helping it map against the bow tie. So she's got all kinds of resources and templates to help you do that. So what we do is really, one, identify some of the content library content that would get them started, schedule time with Fiona. The client would attend the advisory session with them, start building out the stages, also really have a follow-up session as well to help see how they're doing and answer questions and next steps. And then we move into item 2, where we also offer part of our certification courses in the subscription. So you would be able to attend our facilitation certification course, so that you can that would really help provide the skill sets to host workshops live, and how to do it, how to make your own runs of show, what facilitation looks like to help enable your team. So this is a bespoke one for a particular client. May look different depending on the goals, but really trying to make sure that people aren't just off to their own devices and 380 assets, but we're really helping pull it together for you to make you successful. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. So what we want to do is take a few minutes and love some feedback here. I'm going to high level go through the 3 most common ways our current customers are utilizing to help kind of bring it to life. And then, yeah, please in chat, let us know, like, oh gosh, the mobility mojo is me. This is what I need to achieve. And we can dive into a deeper look at what they're doing. But bucketing these in a few areas, we have first the upskilling teams with best-in-class training programs. So, and this is a little bit more the use case Rachel alluded to of, hey, how do I continue to improve performance and continue adoption of initial skills training by offering ongoing coaching and reinforcement. So the Maxio, Tapalti, Evotix, Double Verify use the library or the Access Pass in this way, where they will tap into our coaches and trainers as well as facilitation material to help continual education across teams. As I like, not being an enablement expert, I love to hear these real life stories. Rachel, you mentioned one of just, hey, you've got all these sales leaders coming at you with multiple requests of different topics they really need their team upskilled on. It might be different for SMB versus enterprise versus mid-market, and really helping be your your invisible enablement little assistant to help make you successful.
Yeah,
So that's
exactly.
case one. And then secondary, we have designing processes around getting customers to impact. So this kind of falls in the more process design phase, where we historically have done a lot of the heavy lifting and still do this a lot for customers that are resource strapped or just want full service playbook or process design from Winning by Design. But in some cases, folks want to do it along with our help, but do the heavy lifting. So we can provide playbook templates or impact sprint templates, etc., to really help design processes. Things like, hey, we need to ensure that the handoff between the AE team and the CSMs is improved. So we design that process, help them facilitate what good looks like, and ensure those turn-by-turn directions are there, or entire playbooks to ensure teams are on the same page. And then lastly, we have revenue architecture. So our flagship course on revenue architecture, as many of you know, our founder, Jocko, wrote a book on revenue architecture, and really framework on how the go-to framework on how to run a SaaS business revenue engine. But oftentimes, even with the course and whatnot, having access to our growth architects for ongoing advisory on how to implement this across the organization is incredibly helpful. So these customers, ASG, etc., my POS and Digital Owl, are utilizing the library and advisory services for that use case. So I will stop there. We have more deep dives of these customers in that we can showcase. Any ones that people are particularly excited about or want to hear more about from the audience, please put it in chat. Or any Rachel or Tom that you guys are would advocate for diving into first. All right. Well, I'll go into Digital Owl if that works, since we stopped with the revenue architecture. Yeah, Sari just mentioned the book you can check out in the chat. But the course, if you're not familiar with it, provides the 6 fundamental frameworks of how to run a world-class or the foundation of go-to-market frameworks, and really helps align teams across a unified revenue engine. And yeah, depending on the size of the company, that can take some time in terms of adoption, ensuring everyone's on the same page with your growth model, your go-to-market model, etc. So having a growth architect at your side to help you along that journey to make sure that you do have a repeatable, durable revenue engine is incredibly helpful. So Digital Owl is utilizing us for that use case. They struggled to really unify the metrics and understand how to improve them. They really had a lack of visibility into their metrics, And so, yeah, what they're looking to do is really redefine their data model and gain a full understanding across the bow tie. So this is their journey, and their bespoke plan is reflecting, how to get them and the content and advisors that will help them get to where they need to go.
Yeah. And I would say, I think with any of these use cases, and especially the ones that are more process design, revenue architecture design oriented, one of the other ways that I think about this advisory service and kind of having that really intentional, okay, we're going to schedule out, how we're going to work together, is honestly kind of an accountability buddy, because as we know, like, any person is juggling so many different inputs from an organization. It's easy for things to kind of get backburnered, or be okay, I'll kind of make progress in fits and starts, but not do that kind of consistent, intentional overtime progress on something. And so having that outside force to say, okay, so we talked about this, and then here, go, gather these inputs and come back, and we'll kind of keep moving forward on this, I think is really helpful for customers as well.
Yeah, that's a great point, Rachel. I also find in doing my own advisory that I'm able to pull in, since us as Winning by Design consultants or architects have, or even on the training side, or working with so many clients, we've often seen some of the challenges or issues people are running into, and are able to just provide that expertise of how so-and-so solved it in XYZ way, and save folks a lot of time and struggle, and redoing that with just being able to have the visibility to the amount of customers that we have, and the amount of times we've been able to see what has worked and what has not.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. So another quick one to cover is Maxio. In Maxio's use case, they are really looking for more the internal training and frameworks. In their case, they really wanted to bring together the teams around a common language and sales and post-sales framework. So especially having combined companies, you can imagine that the process design and skills design was important to make sure that they were working together as a new team. And in their case, they really needed help to build that cohesive process all the way through from sales to renewal. So given that they did their merger, we went ahead and are working alongside them to design that process so that they can utilize our best practices of full bow tie alignment across the team, and get their 10 AEs, 6 or so SDRs, and 20 CSMs aligned on what good looks like, and a unified framework across all teams. And yeah, finally, I'll just touch on this one quickly before we go into sort of tech usage with Tom, is Mobility Mojo. In this case, they are looking to design the process of getting customers to impact. They lacked process as well, and really wanted a well-defined, well-tested playbook and process design. So being able to utilize those frameworks and expertise for them was incredibly helpful. Rachel, I know you utilized some Winning by Design process design at your organization, as did you, Tom. Any thoughts on sort of how this would have helped your organizations in those roles?
Yeah, happy to share. I think in some ways that what I think is really appealing about this is being able to, rather than just do big bang of here's a massive playbook and we're changing things all at once, of being able to do that paced kind of gradual change over time with the vision for what the end state is going to look like. And so I think that's how I would see this, right? Of being able to really target certain areas with a laser focus, and then evolve the process over time, which is easier for the field to absorb as well.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Taking sort of pieces that are maybe most urgent and instead of boiling the ocean. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would just add like certain like frontline managers also struggle sometimes figuring out how to enable their reps on a particular like skill set or topic, and especially if you're a team of one or a team of a few in enablement. And I feel like enablement's like the one function that never scales at all within any company.
Hmm.
So being able to look in the library like, hey, this what this manager needs and what the reps needs are this type of content. So, hey, manager, here's the content you should be using. Here's how you can enable your reps with it. Like the act of simply sharing it is not enough, right? Like here's how you should actually be using or leveraging this content and hold your reps accountable to it. So just providing that guidance up front, I found really helpful, and using this content in this way to help scale enablement's efforts.
Yeah, that's a great point. It is like all of the things you need for a manager toolkit are very easy to draw out of this library to really help. And we know that change and behavior, all of that's really on the front lines. So no, I think that's a great shout.
Yeah, so speaking of kind of ongoing reinforcement and change management, Tom, I know you and I chatted through the years of some cool use cases of how do we, it's all great if we design an amazing process that's perfect, but if people aren't using it, it's sort of falls flat here. So you've had some cool use cases like, how do we get it into workflows, technology, et cetera, so that the adoption is more seamless? And would love to you to share some insights in how you implemented Winning by Design best practices into your tech stack.
Yeah. I mean, look, I'll share this up front first, because I think part of the problem is I think it seems like it's only a problem with people in sales, right? Like if you're in the sales org, right? You have too many tools, you have too much content, right? There's courses in the LMS, there's content like in your Drive, in your SharePoint, and all these other different platforms scattered across your sales tech ecosystem. And just because it's there, it exists, doesn't mean your reps know how to find it, let alone are they consuming the right content at the right time, which I think is like the number one issue or problem, right? So if you look at the slide, think about those use cases where like, hey, if this is happening in Salesforce, or if this is happening within our sales process, I want to make sure that the right rep is getting the right content at the right time. So look, we're all in sales. We all deal with when a deal is closed lost. It happens. It's the name of the game.
Mhm.
And one of the things I've done is, hey, if we know that we're losing a deal because the prospect is ghosting us, right? They went dark, they went silent. It's been more than 5, 10, 20 days or whatever. The rep decides, you know what? I'm just gonna mark this deal as closed lost and move on. There's still things we can do to save that opportunity back. So what I've been able to do is leverage technology so that, hey, when the rep is telling Salesforce, I'm losing this deal because the prospect is ghosting, I immediately want to create a workflow from this data change or trigger in Salesforce. And what I want to do is immediately Slack the rep. And by the way, you can get more advanced than this, right? You can Slack the rep and the manager, or maybe I want to push this content into the deal room. But in any case, Winning by Design has this really great video on what to do when a prospect goes dark. And so I want to Slack that rep right when that happens. Here's a video of what to do when a prospect goes dark. And that way I know that the right reps are getting the right content at the right time. So in the best situation possible, the rep's going back into the opportunity, they change it from closed lost to now it's open pipeline again, and they're reworking that account. So again, that's one trigger or workflow. There's literally dozens, if not hundreds of different types of workflows you can create. The way to do this is, one, talk to your Salesforce admin. They can probably build this trigger out manually, right? And again, be mindful of what communication platform you're using. I think it's really easy to do this within like Slack and Teams. Other types of collaboration platforms might be a bit harder. And then the middleware to do this, if you're not doing it directly within Salesforce, you can use tools like Rattle, Momentum, even Zapier is possible. And then you're just architecting that workflow out. And then the beauty about these workflows is that you build it once and then you never have to look at it ever again, right? It's just the confidence of knowing that, hey, when this thing happens in Salesforce, I want to trigger this type of workflow. So again, let's do like another example. Hey, if rep enters discovery stage and opportunity is, let's say, greater than 100K, let me immediately Slack the rep the SPICE discovery blueprint document. So I'm hoping I'm hearing the gears turn in your brain, but this is how you can get creative and essentially automate yourself so that one, you're maximizing the use of this really awesome library, but the library is only as good as how you're using it. And so if you want to create an enablement strategy where it's more proactive versus reactive, you have to leverage technology, right? So again, whether it's like using a tool like Rattle or Momentum, Zapier, or just hard coding it out directly between Salesforce and Slack, Salesforce and Teams, Salesforce and whatever other collaboration tool or CRM tool you're using, this is how you can ensure that the right content is getting to the right people at the right time to drive better outcomes.
Yeah, I love this, Tom. You know, if we think about sort of enablement rollout, like we'll often come up that, okay, in analysis of our leaky bow tie, we see that ghosting is a common reason that our close rate is not where we want it to be. So we do a session to our reps on how to stop ghosting. So, which is great. But I think what happens is, as you mentioned, people have so many messages coming at them. They don't remember 2 months later, oh yeah, we did that session, or barely remember, or don't remember where to find the information to refresh their memory. So I just love this, how it's triggered and there when you need it, and can really help to solve the problem long term versus where there's that forgetting curve that we all struggle with in enablement. So.
Yeah, and I think the beauty with winning by design is that there's content for every single stage in your sales process. There's content for specific skills as well. So really the possibilities are endless, right? The possibilities are really just limited by your creativity, but think about the tech and tools that you already use and think about like, hey, if this conditioned equal this, how can I get the right content to the right people at the right time? Because like Shari said, right, there's already too much content. The reps have gone through the training a month ago or a year ago, and they're not going to necessarily remember it right when they need it. So if we can nudge them in the right direction, if we can push the content to them at that right moment in time, then that's the nudge that rep needs to, even if they don't watch the ghosting video because they already know it, awesome. But now they know, hey, I remember this ghosting play from Winning by Design. That's what I'm going to do to bring this opportunity back to life.
Great one. I love that. And then we can track the close rate improvement for sure.
Exactly. Yeah, there's a lot more analytics and insights you can do once you see those triggers happening and correlate how those triggers are actually impacting a rep productivity and closed won performance metrics.
Yeah, I'm visualizing so many amazing triggers that I'm probably going to overwhelm people's Slack channels.
Yeah, I think at my peak, I probably created over like, I want to say 30, 40 plus triggers, like across the entire bow tie, right? From prospecting through renewal. And there's content for all those different stages or situations that happen throughout the revenue bow tie model. So, and I'm sure I could have done a lot more, but again, like this is where like creativity really matters, but also content utilization. Because if it's just sitting in a directory, then you're not really getting the impact that you want from it.
Yeah, 100%. Amazing. Well, checking the clock, I want to move it into Q&A. I'll ask the team to see if we can open up the mics, but also while we're doing that, you feel free to ask the team or myself any questions in chat or things you want clarity on or more information on, we are here to help. If you think of them later, we are also available. Here's Rachel's email. We'll send out mine as well, and make sure that everyone has time to connect with us afterwards if you have any questions. Tom shared his LinkedIn in there, which is awesome. And yeah, we're really happy to have everyone today, especially thank you, Rachel and Tom, for joining as my guests and participating. Super helpful to get your revenue enablement expertise on this topic, since that's really, really a key to how to make this successful.
No, of course. No, and thank you to everyone who joined. And yeah, as you said, happy to answer questions now or follow up if you want to have a chat one-to-one and start thinking about how this could potentially benefit your teams.
Amazing.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, if there are no questions, thanks everyone for joining. I really appreciate it. And we're here if you need us. Thanks, everyone.